Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the benefits of getting married in your 30s. Growing up, believed that by 25 I would be done with school, I would be married and in my home with my husband and my children. But, my 25th birthday came by, 26, 27, 28. And I still was not married. 29 and still was not married. An event, and then the aunties and the uncles there would be like, "Oh, why you not married? You're 29, you're not married. Who's your boyfriend or who?" I remember those questions really used to bug me and piss me the hell off because it just felt like, people were asking questions, for about stuff that I had no answers for. Like, am I supposed to go to a market and just, grab a husband from there? Or, am I supposed to be doing that? Getting married after your 30s worked out for me. And I'm realizing that it is working out for a number of people. So it is good for me that I got married after my 30s. And here are three reasons why I believe that when a woman marries after her 30s, she's in a better position to handle. Reason number one, when you marry in your 30s, you know what you want. After all the ugly frogs comes the prince. Do you know why? Because then the woman is able to identify a frog a mile away. Yes, after having all these different relationships and identifying what I wanted, what was important to me, I was able to recognize the prince in my way that what you don't want shows you in clarity what you want. So that was my experience because I knew what I didn't want. When I saw what I wanted, I knew that's what I wanted even better. Not to say that people who are in their 20s do not know, but my personal experience, I was able to weed out all the fluff, all the noise that we have in our 20s about wanting to marry somebody that looks a certain way, wanting to be with someone who makes a certain amount, wanting to be with someone from a particular country or a particular skin tone or skin color, and weeding out all that fluff and asking real questions. How compatible are we? How are we able to handle conversations? What are some of the elephants in the room that are not elephants in our world? Like, are we able to agree on key things that are involved in a home? All those things in my 30s, I was able to really process my thoughts and identify. Number two, peeling out the unreasonable preferences. I highlighted on this, but let me talk a little deeper about it. In your 20s, you might be stuck up on, I want a guy who is 6 foot tall, who is making so amount of money, who is driving this car, who is living in this part of the world, who is from a family with this and that. Because again, at that age, you're looking at life from a particular angle. And that was me. I had a preference about, certain things that were really not material to the success of a relationship. Now, someone might listen to this and say, well, Excel, you settled. But that depends on what you are hinging the importance of marriage on. Marriage is not hinged upon how tall a person is, as how much they can love and cherish you. Marriage is not hinged on, his skin color. While that might look good for the gram, it doesn't really tell you whether or not he'll be a good father, whether or not he'll be faithful, whether or not he'll love you, whether or not he's ready to lay his life down for his family. All those preferences that really do not matter. The more mature you are, the more you're able to peel a lot of those things that we hang on to as reasonable. Meanwhile, they're really in our 20s, a woman is tempted to want to marry for other people. They find a guy that their pastor, recommends, or their pastor validates. But you're not marrying for someone else. You're not marrying for your mom. You're not marrying for your dad. You're not marrying for your siblings. You're not marrying for your pastor. You're not marrying for anybody. You are marrying for you. Is he good for you? I believe in our 20s, there's still an aspect of peer pressure that trickles into, our 20s. That in my 30s, I was able to say, no, this man is good for me, irrespective of what my clique thinks. Meaning, if my group of friends do not want this man, I'm fine with it. And then I think about your 30s is you're at a place in your life where you're not so clingy with the clique. A lot of women in their 20s are still going around with their girlfriends. While that's important, sometimes it doesn't really help with making a decision about who to marry, because you want to be with someone whom your entire clique approves of. Not always a good thing. But in my 30s, I was able to, make the distinction. I have friends, but we're not in a clique, meaning I can take a decision by myself, irrespective of whether everybody agrees with my decision or not. And that's one of the benefits of marrying in your 30s. That independence, that maturity, that ability to peel the superficial preferences that we have. Point is about maturity. Okay, getting into a relationship and being mature about the institution of marriage. Marriage is a character building institution. You build character on how to handle anger. You build character on how to, be sacrificial, how to put other needs before yours sometimes. You build character to be patient, to be tolerant, to be forgiving, not to be self-seeking. And the more mature you are, the better chances you have at your marriage, at your home, at your family. Imagine 20s and you feel like, oh, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to do that. You don't want anybody stepping in the way of whatever you want. In your 20s, you is at the forefront of your drive. But in your 30s, you're more like, I've been there, done that, sin, all of that right now. And I am ready to mellow, to give myself over, to be sacrificial, to serve. And usually that results in a better marriage experience. Now, let me say this caveat here. Not to say that everybody who is in their 30s understands this, but the expectation is the older you get, the more mature you should be. The more mature you should be, the more you're able to handle conflict. You're not sparking up at every single thing. You're not fighting and pulling down your home with your words, because you have learned along the years what it means to be patient, to allow a gentle answer to quiet down any kind of tension, to see tension coming miles apart, miles away, and realize, oh no, I need to de-escalate this. This is not time for us to fight. I want to protect the peace. Maturity will put peace over being right. In your 20s, when you're younger, you want to be right, you want to prove a point. But then when you become mature, you're like, well, being right is good, but having peace is better. Not to say that we sweep things under the rug, or I sweep things under the rug every time, but I can tell you that my peace, I preserve my peace, the peace in my home, the peace between me and my husband, giving that environment for my children to grow is more important than me being right. Because you know what? Sometimes we think that we are right. We are absolutely convinced by the fact that we are right. But right is about perspective. It's about where you stand, because the person that is standing opposite of 6 is right about the fact that it is a 9, and you who is standing on this other side is right about the fact that it's a 6. It's about perspective. And so when you give up your right to be right and choose peace, you're saying, I'm willing to look at the other person's perspective. I'm willing to stand from your own angle to see what those are some of the benefits of getting married in your 30s. And while someone might be saying, well, Excel, I hear you, doesn't make me feel better, I'll tell you this: there are things that we want and there are things that we get. While waiting for what you want, enjoy what you have, and what you want will finally make its way to you someday, somehow. Hope this has blessed someone, and until next time, this has been Excel. God bless you.